Okay, so this is our first lesson using the flipped classroom model. We are going to be taking notes on 7.1 writing equations and expressions. Just a couple of reminders for you while you're watching this. If you need to pause the video to catch up on the notes, please do so. And then I would also ask if you come across any questions as we're taking these notes, please put a star by it, and then we will address that question when we get to class on Monday. Okay, so first thing, let's define the two things that we're going to be working with today, expressions and equations. And you guys have worked with this a lot. You probably just haven't written a definition of it. So first thing, expression. Okay? Expression is simply a mathematical sentence and this mathematical sentence can contain numbers, variables, operations, anything in that realm that you can think of. Okay, so here's a couple examples. We can have x divided by 12, okay, where x is our variable and 12 is a number and division is our operation. Or we could even have something that looks like this. 2a plus 7 plus 3b. In that second example, we have a couple variables, just one operation addition, but both of these are examples of expressions. Okay, next let's define equation. This definition is a little bit longer. Okay, equation is a mathematical sentence, so we're starting off the same. Okay, but it's more than just a mathematical sentence. It's a mathematical sentence that sets two expressions equal. Okay, so in simple terms, in an equation, you're going to have an equal sign. So a very simple example would be x plus 7 is equal to 10. Okay. Next, what I want to do is I want to look at some key words that are going to help you turn verbal phrases into either expressions or equations. So if you have a group of words and you're trying to either write an equation or an expression from that grouping of words, we want to define some key words that indicate each one of these operations. Okay? So I'll do this first one and then I'll kind of talk about what it means. So addition, okay, obviously that's the addition symbol. We have these keywords: plus, sum, increased by, more than, and total. Anytime you see one of these words, that's going to indicate to you that you need to use the operation of addition. Okay, same thing for each one of these. Subtraction, here are some keywords: minus, difference, decreased by, and less than. Okay, anytime you see one of these four words, that can indicate the operation of subtraction. Now remember, there could be more words that we could put here, there could be more words that we could put here, and if you can think of some of those words, please put those in there as a reference. Okay, multiplication, we have times, product of, and twice. Okay, and then the last one, division, we have divided by, and quotient. Okay. This chart will be a great reference for you as we are starting to turn verbal phrases into either equations or expressions. Okay, here's a key note. When using what two operations is order important? Okay, hopefully you know that when using either subtraction oops, I ran out of room there, or division, order is extremely important. Okay, let's look at a couple examples. Okay, first one, 7 less than a number. Okay, well, looking at this keyword less than, that tips us off that we're going to be using subtraction because it's part of our chart. Okay, now we would be tempted to write 7 minus n. Okay, oh, that brings me to a next point. Here we see this term a number. Okay, that tips us off that we don't know what that number is. So we are going to have to introduce a variable. Okay, in this case, let's just use the variable n. Okay, this is an arrow. Okay, so we're going to use the variable n here. Now, in writing this, if we go 7 minus n, that's going to be incorrect. Let's read this carefully. It says 7 less than a number. Okay, so actually what this is going to look like, we are going to have some number n minus 7. Okay, we are taking 7 away from some number, so it's 7 less than this number n. Okay, next one, this one's a little bit more straightforward. This is going to keep the order consistent. So here we have 28 divided by, again we have a number, so we're going to have to introduce a variable. This time let's use the variable a. So we're going to have 28 divided by this number a. Okay. Again, whenever you're using subtraction or division, take a couple of minutes to make sure that you have the correct order. Okay, the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to look at some examples that you are going to see in your homework. Okay, so these first couple up here, these are expressions that we are going to write. So we've given you the verbal phrase and we're going to translate that into an expression using the knowledge that we have. So, a number decreased by 17. Decrease, that tips us off that we have to use subtraction. Okay, a number, our variable here is going to be n, so we go n decreased by 17. Okay, feel free when you're taking notes here, whenever you see a number, that tells you that you're going to have to use a variable. I'm going to change the variable that I use. You can use any variable that you want to represent this number. Okay, so next example, we have 5 more than a number. Okay, more than tips us off that we're going to be using addition. Remember, order is not as important when you're using addition, so we could write this as 5 plus b, or we could write it as b plus 5. Okay, because again, order is not as important when you're using addition. Okay, looking at the next one. Here we have a couple operations. We have twice. That tells us that we're going to have to use multiplication. And we have increased by, which tells us that we're going to have to use addition. So twice a number increased by 7 looks like this. 2 times c, or whatever variable you choose, increased by 7. Okay, now order of operation tells us that we're going to multiply before we add, but eventually parentheses are going to be very important. So if it makes you feel better, you can put some parentheses in there just to remind you that we're going to be doing this multiplication before we do this addition. Okay, next one, 6 less than 9. Okay, well in our heads we can say, well that should be 3. I think this is, yeah, 6 less than 9. Okay, so in our heads we should be able to say, well, I know that's 3. So we need to make sure that we're coming up with some type of an expression that represents the number 3. Okay, so this is going to be 6 less than 9. Okay, and we look at that and we say, yep, that's correct. That's going to give us 3. Okay, all 4 of these examples up here, these are all expressions. Okay, we know that they're expressions because there is not an equal sign. Okay, some of the examples that we do in this bottom row, they are going to be equations, which means we should see an equal sign in it. Okay. Let's keep going. We have 4 more. 9 decreased by the sum of a number and 2. Again, we're going to have a couple different operations here, so let's underline what we have. We have 9 decreased by, okay, that means subtraction. Then we have the sum, I'll circle that, of a number and 2. Okay, that looks like this. 9 decreased by, we know that means subtraction, by the sum of a number and 2. For my variable, I'll use x. Sum means add, so we're going to use addition there. Number and 2. Now, we're going to talk more about this one in class. I want you guys to put a star here. I also want you to insert parentheses where you think that the parentheses should be inserted. Okay, so what I'm asking you is, do you think that the parentheses should be there, what I just did in red, or do you think we should place the parentheses there? And I also want you to be able to explain why you chose the grouping that you did. Okay, next one. Here's going to be our first equation, and you may be thinking to yourself, well, how do I know that this is an equation? Here's the most important thing. Anytime you see the word is, that represents an equal sign. Okay, so if you want to write a little, oh, I just wrote that down here. Okay, so let's fill that in right now. When you see the word is, write an equal sign. Okay, and again, just as a reminder, anytime you see an equal sign, that means that you're going to be working with an equation. Okay, so let's work through this one. The sum of a number and 20 is 13. Sum tells us that we're going to be using the operation of addition. Okay, again, you can pick any variable that you want. I'm going to pick y. So the sum of a number and 20 is, okay, I put an equal sign there, 13. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. Let's look at the next one. Right away, we see the word is, so we know that we're working with an equation again. Let's read it. The quotient of 12 and a number is -6. Okay, I see this word, the quotient, which means we're going to be using division. That should also key you off that order is important here, so we're going to keep this the same. The quotient of 12 and a number, so we're going to write 12 divided by some number m is -6. Okay. Last one that we're going to look at. 5 minus the product of 4 and a number is 17. Okay, this is probably our most complicated one so far. So let's look at our different operations. We have 5 minus, okay, so we're going to use subtraction. We're also going to use multiplication. Okay, and then right here we see that we're working with an equation again. Okay, so here we go. 5 minus, okay, that tips me off that I'm using subtraction, the product of 4 and a number. Okay, so 4 and some number c is equal to 17. Okay, I would also like you to put a star by this one. We're going to talk about this one in class. My question is here is, do you need parentheses? Okay, and again, make sure that you can defend your answer on that one. Okay, that's it for lesson 7.1. Please go back, make sure that you have all of these notes filled in. Okay, and again, make sure that you have put a star besides these two at any places where you had questions or there were points of confusion. All right, see you in class.